When the HOA president tried to seize my dock, she thought she was flexing her neighborhood power. What she didn't know was that the entire marina, the lifeline of her fancy lakeside community, depended on my old engineering permits and control systems. She wanted war. I gave her shutdown. It was supposed to be a quiet summer. After 30 years in the Navy's engineering corps, I finally retired to the lake I'd always dreamed about. Still, peaceful, with sunsets that painted the water in gold. I bought a modest cabin with an attached dock, built by the previous owner decades ago. The title deed included the land and the dock. Everything was clear. Or so I thought. My first week there I met her, the HOA President, Meredith Pruitt. She strutted down my dock like she owned the place, clipboard in hand, sunglasses perched high on her head like a crown. "Mr. Walker," she began, her tone polished but patronizing, "I'm afraid this dock violates HOA guidelines. It's an unapproved structure." I looked at her, amused. "It's been here longer than your HOA's been breathing. It's in my property line and recorded in the county archives," she sniffed. "Be that as it may, all docks must now conform to the Marina aesthetic standard. You'll have to either rebuild it under our supervision or surrender it for integration with the HOA's managed marina." I chuckled. "You want me to give up my dock? The one on my property?" She smiled. That type of smile that said she was used to getting her way. "Exactly. Cooperation ensures harmony. Mr. Walker, I'm sure you understand." But I didn't. I wasn't about to hand over my hard-earned retreat to a woman who thought her clipboard gave her divine rights. 2 days later, I received a letter claiming the dock had been rezoned as part of the HOA's shared waterfront management. They called it a community enhancement initiative. What it really meant was that Meredith wanted to turn private docks into HOA-controlled rentals, a tidy way to line their pockets with maintenance fees. I went to the next HOA meeting to set things straight. The room was full of retirees sipping coffee and whispering about property values. Meredith stood at the podium, basking in their approval. When I took the mic, I laid out my deed, county map, and the 1989 builder's permit that proved my dock's legality. The room went silent. Meredith smiled tightly and said, "We'll review these documents, but the HOA board has authority over shared waterfront assets." I knew then, this wasn't going to be a debate. It was going to be a war. Over the next week, warning letters piled up in my mailbox. Then one morning, I walked outside and found orange tape strung across my dock, seized by HOA order. My blood boiled. But instead of tearing it down, I smiled. Meredith had no idea what she'd just tangled with. That dock wasn't just wood and bolts. It was wired, literally. Back in my Navy days, I specialized in marine infrastructure systems, water control, electrical routing, and environmental regulation tech. When I retired, I'd done consulting work for the county's marina systems. Long story short, the HOA's fancy central marina control still ran on schematics I'd designed years ago, and Meredith had just declared ownership of a structure that sat right in the middle of it all. The following morning, I started preparing my counterstrike, quiet, methodical, and precise. I retrieved my old engineering laptop, opened the access protocols, and smiled. The marina's system was still running the same outdated software from my consulting days. Lazy management meant no upgrades, just rebranding. I accessed the system, found the node linked to my dock's data relay, and created a secure subroutine. Nothing destructive, just a lockout, something to cut off power, water, and data links if triggered. I nicknamed it Meredith's wake-up call. Days passed. Then came the escalation. A contractor crew showed up, claiming they had HOA authorization to remove the dock. Meredith stood by, sipping iced tea, watching like a queen surveying her conquest. I walked up to her. "You're trespassing, Meredith." "That dock's still mine," she smirked. "Not according to our new zoning map. You can appeal, but the process will take, about 6 months." "Funny," I said. "You might want to check your marina systems before then." She waved dismissively. "Idle threats won't help you, Mr. Walker. We run this lake now." The contractors started unbolting my dock. I didn't stop them. I simply walked back inside, opened my laptop, and hit execute. Within minutes, the entire marina went dark. Pumps stopped. Electric lifts froze. The fancy security lights around their million-dollar boats flickered and died. I watched from my window as panic spread along the shoreline. People shouted, alarms went off, and someone yelled, "The marina's offline!" Meredith's smugness evaporated. She pulled out her phone, barking orders. I walked back down, calm as ever. Looks like your community asset hit a little snag, I said. She glared. You did this! I shrugged. No idea what you're talking about. But since you claimed my dock, the system must have registered your ownership. And, well, the access protocol linked to it might have kicked in. Her jaw dropped. Access protocol? Old engineering term, I said with a smile. Means you just inherited responsibility for all maintenance, power control, and compliance systems. You know, the ones you didn't pay for. The HOA scrambled for days trying to restore control. Their IT guy couldn't crack the encryption. The marina remained dead. Meredith had to cancel rentals, refund fees, and answer to angry homeowners. I didn't gloat, not yet. I simply watched as she dug herself deeper. She even filed a complaint to the county. The county engineer laughed and said, that system's proprietary, belongs to whoever built the dock relay. In other words, me. The next HOA meeting was chaos. Residents were furious about the shutdown, demanding answers. Meredith blamed me, calling me a rogue homeowner sabotaging community property. I stood up calmly and said, you mean the property you seized illegally? Then I dropped the bomb. I played a video recording, security footage of her authorizing the crew to take my dock, dated and time-stamped. Then I read aloud the clause from the HOA charter. Any board action resulting in damage to or seizure of private property renders the acting officers liable for all consequential damages. The room went dead silent. Meredith's face went white. Now, I said, you owe the community about $200,000 in marina losses. The aftermath spread fast. Meredith's power grab became neighborhood gossip overnight. Some homeowners turned on her. Others resigned from the board entirely. The HOA called an emergency session to remove her as president, but I wasn't done. I wanted to make sure no one else tried that stunt again. I filed a civil complaint for property interference and damages. My attorney, a friend from my Navy days, delivered it in person. Meredith tried to settle quietly, but the county's environmental division also got involved. Turns out, unauthorized modification of a dock connected to a regulated marina is a federal violation. Within a month, the HOA was fined. Meredith's personal accounts were audited, and she resigned for health reasons. The community eventually came to me, hat in hand, asking if I could help restore the marina systems. I agreed, but under one condition: my dock and all private docks would be exempt from HOA authority permanently. They signed it, unanimously. When I finally restored the marina, the power returned, lights blinked back on, and the water pumps hummed alive. Residents cheered. Meredith's former allies avoided my gaze. Later that evening, as the sun dipped low, one of the older residents came by with a bottle of bourbon. You really showed them, Commander, he said. Didn't think anyone could outsmart Meredith? I smiled. You don't fight power with anger. You fight it with understanding, of systems and of people. I took a sip, looking over the calm lake. My dock, my peace restored. Weeks later, a new HOA president knocked on my door, a polite woman named Carol. She thanked me for saving the marina and asked if I'd consider being an advisor to the HOA. I laughed. No thanks, ma'am. I prefer the view from here. But before she left, I handed her one piece of advice. Never mistake authority for ownership. You manage people's trust, not their lives, she nodded. Understanding. And as the lake shimmered under the setting sun, I watched the boats drift by, all powered through systems I'd built and protected. Meredith moved away a month later. Rumor had it she couldn't stand seeing the marina she once claimed, now running under the name Walker Systems Control. My dock stood firm, weathered but proud, a quiet reminder that sometimes the best revenge isn't destruction. It's restoration on your own terms.